Hi, everybody. So, I'm sorry that I'm sick today, but I'm here to help you with math. I'm going to see if I can't figure out how to share my screen. So, hold on 1 second. Very tricky. Oh, guess I can't remember this. Hold on. Yes. There we go. All right, so today on Google Classroom, you guys are going to be doing Mystery Doug again. And I need you to get 300 words on Mystery Doug this afternoon. I meant this morning. If you don't finish, you can do it during intervention time in the afternoon. And I'm going to be showing you lesson number 7. I know that we should be on lesson number 6, but it's kind of a complicated hands-on lesson. And if I don't do it in person, I think it'll be a little confusing. But lesson number 7 will be a little bit easier for you guys. It's not wanting to, but let's go. Okay, there we go. Alrighty. Come back here. I'm going to share my screen. Just a minute. All right. Oh, you can see it. Okay. There we go, everyone. Okay. Today we're doing lesson number 7. It's on page 941. We're talking about three-dimensional figures. And there are a few vocabulary words I need you to remember. Number 1, remember that you need to do exactly what I do on the video to get full credit on your paper. So number 1, I need you to remember that a face is the flat surface of a three-dimensional figure. So this is the face of this cube, right? I might argue that it's a rectangular prism, but I'm going to say that this is its face. How many faces does a cube have? A cube has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the bottom makes 6. So there are 6 faces on this rectangular prism. All right, next. Number 2 is the edge. These are where the 2 faces they meet. So if I was to take 2 pieces of paper, I want you to be able to see my hands. If I was going to take 2 pieces of paper, actually I'm going to use my fraction cubes that I have right here because they're a little more sturdy. If I was to take these 2 pieces and I was to put them up against each other, the part where they meet, or the edge where they meet, this is the edge. That makes sense, doesn't it? The edge where they meet? Yes. So on this cube, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We have 12 edges. These are where those faces come together and they meet. Kind of makes sense that there would be 12 of them. All right, the vertex. We call them vertices when there's more than one. On this cube or this rectangular prism, we have a few. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. On this rectangular prism, we have 8 vertices, which is plural for vertex. All right. Remember that to get full credit, I need you to make sure that you're writing down everything that I have on my paper so I know that you watched the video, okay? Make sure your name's on your paper. We're going to go down to math in my world. All right, the problem we've been having lately is that you guys are not reading the instructions completely. You read the first sentence and then you do that, and then you don't remember to read the second. So I'm going to make sure that I read both sentences so that I can get full credit for the assignment. That is, describe the faces, the edges, and the vertices of the figure outlined on the luggage bag. Then identify the shape of the figure. So they are obviously talking about this luggage bag that is next to us. How many faces does it have? If I was a person who had forgotten what faces were just after we explained it, could we look up at the top picture we've already done? A face is a flat surface. So this luggage bag is almost identical to the figure that we had before. So I'm going to count really quickly how many faces. I can see 1, 2, 3. But I know that there's going to be another one on this side, another one on this side, and the back. So I know that this shape is going to have 6 faces. and each face appears to be a rectangle. Then we're going to go to edges. There are blank edges. The opposite edges are parallel and congruent. So up here, if I was to have forgotten, I can go back up to number 2 and see the edges where the two faces meet. So on this one, I know there's 1, 2, 3, 4 on the top. And I know there'll be 1, 2, 3, 4 on the bottom. And then I know that they connect down the side too. So I have the 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I know that this rectangular prism has 12 edges and that the opposite edges are parallel and congruent. So the ones that lie across from each other. All right, let's count how many vertices. I look up here. A vertex is plural for vertex. So a vertex is a point where 3 or more faces meet. So these are the corners, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I have 8 vertices. And remember that when I told you that you need to do everything to your paper that I'm doing, if I see that you haven't done these things right here, it makes me think that you did not watch the video. So please be sure that you're doing exactly what I'm doing on yours. Let's read the paragraphs that follow. Prisms are three-dimensional figures. A prism has at least 3 faces that are rectangles. The top and the bottom faces, called the bases, are congruent parallel polygons. I'm sure that these highlighted words that they have made sure that you know are pretty important. I'm just going to circle them, and I want you to know that the bases, this is probably going to be super important for the lesson, is bases are congruent, parallel, and polygons. These are adjectives that are describing what the base is, right? It's congruent. It means they're the same size, same shape. They are parallel, the same distance. If I was to measure the top, it would be the same distance as the bottom from each other. And it's a polygon, which is a closed shape, right? With no curved lines. Next box. Not box, you guys. Next paragraph. The figure above is a rectangular prism. So our luggage is a rectangular prism. In a rectangular prism, the bases are congruent rectangles. So what they're saying is that the base, the bottom of our luggage is the same shape, exact same size, same shape as the top and the bottom, right? The bases are congruent rectangles. A rectangular prism has 6 rectangular faces. Did we say that? Yes, we did. It has 12 edges. We said that. And it has 8 vertices. We found all those. So we know the answers are correct. Flip your page. All right, in this lesson, we are probably only going to cover these 3 different kinds of prisms. So we have a rectangular prism up here. A rectangular prism has specific attributes. You know, we talked about attributes when we talked about triangles and rectangles, different kinds of polygons. So let's see what the attributes are for a rectangular prism. A rectangular prism has 6 rectangular faces. So it has 6 faces. It has 12 edges, and it has 8 vertices. Those are all of its attributes. If it has these attributes, then we can then call it a rectangular prism. Sorry, is my screen a little blurry? Oh, I don't have my glasses on. All right, a triangular prism. A triangular prism has triangular bases. So that means both the top and the bottom are going to have 3 sides, or a triangle. It has 5 faces, top, that's actually the bottom, the top, and then the 3 faces on the sides. And it has 9 edges and 6 vertices. So if it has 5 faces, 9 edges, and 6 vertices, we can classify it as a triangular prism. All right, let's look at a cube. A cube and a rectangular prism could probably be almost identical, except for there's one difference. Let's see what we can find it. A cube has 6 square faces. Oh, I just found it. Right? So the difference between a rectangular prism and a cube is going to be the size of its faces. A rectangular prism can have different, the bases could be different shapes than its side faces. So we need to make sure that if it has all 6 sides need to be identical for it to, all 6 faces need to be identical for it to be a cube. It also has 12 edges, which the rectangular prism does, and it has 8 vertices, which the rectangular prism does. So a cube is also considered to be a square prism. So you could call it either of those two things. Today you're going to be classifying 3D shapes by their attributes. We've done this with 2D shapes, but now we're going to do it with 3D shapes. So describe the faces, edges, and vertices of a three-dimensional figure, then identify it. So right now I know lots of fifth graders are looking at this and they're going, triangular prism, but it doesn't ask us to identify it first, right? It says describe its faces, its edges, and its vertices of this figure, and then we'll identify it. So this figure has how many faces? Its bases are 2, and its faces or its side faces are 1, 2, 3. So I know it has 5 faces. The blank faces, I'm going to try to read again. The blank bases are congruent and parallel. So it's talking about the top and the bottom. The other faces are, so what it's saying is that if I measured from the top base and the bottom base, if I was to measure how the distance between these two, they would be parallel. So the top and bottom faces are congruent and parallel. And the other faces are they parallel? No, they are just congruent. Very good. Okay, let's talk about the edges. So they're talking about these lines where the faces connect. There are how many edges? Let's look and see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are 9 edges. Edges that form the vertical sides of the rectangles are parallel, and so what they're talking about is if we were to take and erase all of these right here, we have just a square, right? So they're talking about these edges, this edge and this edge. Both of them, the edges that form these vertical sides of the rectangles, are parallel and congruent. They are the same size, same shape, and they are parallel. The vertices, now we're talking about where these faces touch or where they connect. These corners. The figure has how many vertices? 6 vertices. This figure is, and you need to fill in here, a triangular. Oh, this is the hardest part. Prism. My handwriting is too big, but I'll put a period at the end. Okay, you guys. So this is what it's asking you to do on your work today. As you move on, I need you to describe this the same way. When it says describe the faces, edges, and vertices, you need to tell me how many faces, how many edges, how many vertices, and then you're also going to be asked to identify what type of 3D shape it is. Something I don't want to see is on the line that's provided for you. If I was to say just 5, 9, 6, and then write triangular, like a TP, of course I could probably go through and see that you knew, but how do I know that this is 4 faces, that you knew that there were 5 faces on this shape? How do I know that you don't know it's 5 edges? Please be specific or I'll hand it back to you so that you can finish it more clearly. Make sure that you're describing that you need 5 faces and there are 9 edges and 6 vertices, and write out what it is. They give you the spelling right up here, even though it's a little tricky. Write out what shape you've got. It'll help you remember what they're called. Okay, I think that that's everything. I'm going to put the schedule up on the board. Your math is in the math classroom, and your writing is in the writing classroom today. I'd like you to work on Mystery Doug. I know I said that we weren't going to do another Mystery Doug, but it'll just be a little easier for this week. Thanks for being nice to our sub.